predominantly in the construction industry. He started his career within the field of occupational health and safety with experience in various disciplines of construction, including civil works, road works, building works, manufacturing, as well as mechanical and electrical. He has a master's degree in business management and a diploma in risk management, and he is currently completing his LLB. Following a career of involvement in construction projects across South Africa, including the development of a risk reduction program that assists organizations with improving their operational health and safety performance, Kobus became the National Safety, Health, Environment, Risk, and Quality Manager at the South African Forum of Civil Engineering Contractors, working alongside various construction companies, industry role players, and governments. Kobus joined a committed and enthusiastic team at the South African Council for Projects and Construction Management Professions with the position of Registration Manager in April of 2023 and wishes to continue with his life goal of making a difference as a leader. In the famous words of President John Quincy Adams, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Van Wyngaardt, and we'll take questions after he's done with his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sipho, for that introduction. And the SACPCMP is really appreciative to the ACPM for allowing the council to present at your workshop. Let me just start by sharing my screen. Please advise whether the presentation is visible.
Yes, you can see it.
Thank you very much. So yes, as mentioned, I'm Kobus van Wyngaardt. I'm the registration manager for the SACPCMP. And let's start off by looking a bit at the SACPCMP as a whole. So who is the SACPCMP? All right, first off, it's a very interesting organization, and it is the South African Council for Project and Construction Management Professions. And the statutory mandate for the council is derived from Section 22 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, which states that every citizen has the right to choose their trade, occupation, and profession freely, although that this practice of a trade or occupation or a profession may be regulated by law. So let's look. So the SACPCMP is a statutory professional body established through the Act of Parliament, as I've just mentioned. And the council was established by actual Section 2 of the Project and Construction Management Professions Act, Act number 48 of 2000, with the main purpose of regulating project and construction management professionals to protect the public. So the SACPCMP fits in under the Department of Public Works, alongside...
Sorry, Kobus. I'm not sure. It seems as if the slides are not moving. Can you just put it in presentation mode, because we are still seeing your initial slide?
Oh, so it's moving on my side. Let me stop sharing and reshare again.
Okay, thanks. Sorry for the interruption. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Maybe just put it in full presentation, then it can be easy.
I think I'm going to share my entire screen with you. I think that will maybe assist. Is the screen visible, the presentation?
Yes, this is fine. It's in presentation mode. It will be easier.
All right. Okay, so let me get to the slide where I actually ended, and there we are. So tell me that you can see it's indicating the Public Works and the councils.
Yes, that's fine. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Prof. So The SACPCMP, as I mentioned, is one of 6 separate councils that basically falls under the Department of Public Works and has got a reporting function through to the CBE. When we take a look at the overview, the SACPCMP is there and is established to register and to regulate specific built environment management professionals. And the SACPCMP, along with the CBE, acts enjoin to work in concert in respect of 13 different administrative functions, along with the 8 mandates of the CBE for a sustainable built environment. And all of this is done in order to protect the public. So the SACPCMP has got 13 different legislative mandates as derived from the Project and Construction Management Professions Act. I'm not going to go through all 13 of these, but we can highlight a couple, including guideline of professional fees, continuous professional development, as well as code of conducts, registration for professionals, as well as RPL and standard generating, just to list a couple. So the regulatory framework in which the SACPCMP and its professions operate is derived from the South African Qualifications Authority policies for conferring professional designations to ensure standards are adhered to. We all know them as SACWA. Also, the construction regulations as part of the OSH Act through the Department of Employment and Labour, as well as the national building regulations through the NHBRC, ensures that builders comply with the prescribed building industry standards. And that is predominantly for our building inspectors. And then, of course, the regulation of construction industry standards and the development of contractors focus on mentorship competencies through the CIDB. So what are some of the highlighted regulatory mandates that we identified? One of them being our professional registration. Why we are here today is the SACPCMP registers our applicants in the appropriate categories of registration, which it regulates through a registration policy to ensure that not only competent persons with the relevant qualifications are registered, in addition to their experience. So these sections out of the Act include sections 11, 18, and 19 of the Act, whereby I want to stress especially Section 18 of the PCMP Act, Section 18.2, that stipulates that a person may not practice in any of the categories contemplated in the Act unless he or she is registered in that specific category, which is really important. So what are the benefits of registration? So first off, it is you actually obtain public recognition by a legislator. Being a registered person actually ends up with you being listed on a public national register that signifies that you have been properly qualified as a practicing professional in accordance to that prevailing legislation and within that specific registration category. Also, it's a proof of competency and employer surety, which means that your competency has been independently attested, all right, and that it is duly verified and accepted by an impartial statutory body in the fields that you have deemed to be competent in. And that provides the employer with the certainty that a person that has obtained their registration is competent to perform that work. It's also a proof of continuous excellence. Each and every registered professional is required to be CPD compliant at all during each and every CPD cycle following registration, where you are continuously sensitized to considerations of unsound practices, public health and safety, environmental protection, etc., with regards to your related industry. It is also a recourse for unethical behavior. And this is very important where employers need to understand that a transgressor of the code of conduct can and will be removed from the public register in order not to sully the reputation of the unlicensed practitioners where actions of misconduct or conduct unbecoming are proven. Meaning that if you transgress your code of conduct, then you will be removed and you will lose your registration if you are found to have contravened the requirements. So the SACPCMP currently registers professionals in 14 different categories. These categories include project and construction management, especially for you candidates, as well as the construction health and safety industry, as well as the building inspector sectors. So let's have a look at these 14 different categories. All right. These 14 different categories all form part within the built environment. And what is really important is when we look at the definition of the built environment, because we get the questions raised by applicants, why should they register? And if they work in which areas should they register? So, as I've mentioned, the council registers professionals that work within the built environment. The definition of the built environment refers to the functional area in which a registered person's practice. The built environment also includes all the structures that are planned and or erected above or underground, as well as the land utilized for the purpose and for supporting infrastructure. So that gives you a clear indication. If you work in any of these areas, in any of the categories that we are going to have a look at now, then you are, as per Act 48 of 2000, required to be a registered professional with the SACPCMP. So let's look. When we look at our projects, each and every single project consists out of 6 different project stages. And different registration categories function within different stages of the project. And when we look at those various categories, we will identify in which categories each one of those professions practice. So let's look. Our first stage of every construction project is the project initiation and briefing stage, where you've got the responsible person agreeing with client needs, assessing user requirements, appointment of the required consultants, etc. All those activities forms part of that stage. When we look at stage 2 is the concept and feasibility stage. That is where the finalization of the project concept gets determined and the actual feasibility is determined. Stage 3 is the design and development stage, whereby the management, the coordination, and the integration of the detailed design development within the project scope, time, cost, and quality parameters are developed. So this is a really important stage for the life cycle of the project. When we look at stage 4, which is the tender documentation and procurement stage, that is where the preparation of the necessary documentation for the execution of the project gets developed to ensure that the project is completed timeously, as well as the process of establishing and the implementing of the procurement strategies that will be required during the life cycle of the project. When we look at stage 5, the construction documentation and management stage, that includes the management and administration of the construction contracts and the processes, including the preparation and the coordination of the necessary documentation for the effective execution of the project. There is stage 6, that's the project closeout. So mainly, just to give you an idea, stages 1, 2, and 3 are the main stages that takes part before the actual construction takes place on a construction project, whereby stages 4, 5, and 6, that is the actual stages where construction starts to take place and the actual shovel meets the ground on the construction sites. So let's look at these different categories of registration. We've got our professional construction manager. When we think back of the 6 life cycle stages, the professional construction manager functions within stages 4, 5, and 6, the actual construction work stages within the project. The professional construction project manager, the PRCPM, the project manager has got a responsibility from stage 1 all the way till stage 6, the project closeout stage. Then, of course, we've got our candidate construction manager, as well as our candidate construction project manager. Who are candidates, and what's the difference between the professional and the candidate? A professional construction manager or project manager has got the relevant qualifications as well as the required number of years of experience to make them competent in that specific category, where the candidate in each one of those areas means that the person might have the relevant qualifications in terms of the degrees and so forth at the right NQF level, although they don't have that required relevant years of experience to as what is required by the council. So then the applicant registers as a candidate until that time that they have got the required number of years of experience in order to allow them to register as a professional. Our next category is our professional construction mentors, as well as our construction mentors. These professionals have got an excess of 10 years of experience within various aspects of construction management. When we look at our construction health and safety side, we register our professional construction health and safety agents, who are responsible from stages 1 up until 6, similar to our project managers. And then we've got our construction health and safety managers and our construction health and safety officers, who basically operates within stages 4 to 6, similar to our construction managers. We then also have candidates in all 3 of these different categories, and it works exactly the same as within project management, where these applicants just don't have the required number of years of relevant practical experience, and they built that up whilst being a candidate prior to registering as a professional. Certified building inspectors is our next category, together with our professional building inspectors, and that is all 14. When we look at our construction project manager, we sometimes, or not sometimes, we get a question, what's the difference between the project manager and the construction manager? The construction project manager mainly deals with construction project management, which is the management of projects within the built environment from conception to completion. And that includes the management of the related professional services. So, as you can see, it's from stages 1 to 6, and it includes the management of various projects, where, in comparison, our construction manager includes the main activity of construction management, which is the management of the actual physical construction processes within the built environment, and it includes the coordination, the administration, and the management of resources. So as you can see, that's the actual management of the physical work taking place on the construction site. So what are the roles and responsibilities of our project and construction management professionals? So we look at, they need to be able to provide leadership and management of the construction process from conception to commissioning, especially in the field of the project manager. They coordinate the activities of the professional team, the construction team, and the role players in an integrated manner to maximize resources. That is our construction manager. And then both of them leading, planning, scheduling, communicating, and motivating all the teams and the building team in order to work and complete the projects successfully. So when we look at the qualifications required, so at the current moment, professional construction managers and the professional construction project managers have got various, sorry, my slide just skipped one forward. So if you are in the possession of an accredited honors degree within the built environment field of study, you have got a minimum, and you've got a minimum of 4 years of post experience, then you are allowed to be registering as a professional construction project manager or construction manager. With a BTech qualification within the built environment. So I'm just getting some feedback there. Can I proceed?
Please proceed. I'm muting as they are coming in.
All right. Thank you, Prof. Yes. So our BTech qualification, sorry, this presentation is just moving along. So let's see. So if you've gotten a BTech qualification, then you require a minimum of 5 years post-graduation, relevant practical experience. If you've got an accredited national diploma, you need 4 years. I don't seem to be able to stop this thing from moving by itself. So apologies for that, Prof. You need for 6 years of post-graduation relevant practical experience. And then, of course, when you've got the last one, an accredited national diploma in the built environment, you require a minimum of 7 years of post-graduation experience. So please note that the council is looking into, has looked into changing those requirements, and that if it will require a flat number of years required for experience of being 5 years with the relevant qualifications. When we look at our candidates, if you've got those required qualifications, then Prof, I will also share this presentation with you to share with your applicants to have a look at the presentation to gather all that information as well. The core competencies that the council looks at includes project management, construction contracts, construction sciences, construction processes, and design processes, in addition to financial and cost practices and stakeholder management. So these are the core competencies that the council looks into when we assess an applicant for their abilities in order to register within the designated category. A brief look at our building inspector. A building inspector is a person who's employed by either a public or private institution and is qualified in one or more disciplines, qualifying them to make a professional judgment about whether a building meets the building code requirements. And when we look at some of the roles and responsibilities of our building inspectors, they provide assurance that the building projects achieve legal binding certification. And the reason why I'm including this detail from the building inspectors is that our construction managers and our project managers, whilst developing their projects and whilst they are managing the construction stages within the project, need to ensure that they include the building inspectors within the life cycle stages to ensure that the projects are safely erected as per the required drawings and specifications. Some of the core competencies for our building inspectorates, as you can see, they are required to be very knowledgeable regarding the relevant national, provincial, and municipal acts, as well as the national building codes and the standards and specifications, in addition to law enforcement, inspection processes, and general construction management principles, as well as principles of quality control and quality assurance. Our construction health and safety agents that we have had a look at, these is also very important for our construction project and construction managers. whereby these, especially on project management stage, the project manager works very closely to the construction health and safety agent. And let's look at what the agent actually does. And that includes the management of the project health and safety processes and duties within the built environment from conception to completion. So as I've mentioned, they work hand in hand with our project manager, and they are there to assist the project manager to ensure that health and safety has been taken into consideration through all the various stages within the life cycle of the project. Our construction health and safety managers, our safety managers and officers that we will have a look at now, they mainly work quite closely to our construction managers. And what is their purpose? A construction health and safety manager is the manager or the person that is appointed by the employer to manage the planning and the implementation of the construction health and safety systems. These systems provide the construction manager with the relevant information in terms of health and safety, allowing the construction manager to make the right decisions or to provide them with information when they have to make various project-specific decisions when it comes to the actual erection or the building of the project. When we look at our construction health and safety officers, they are persons who are appointed, again, by the employer to assist site management with the planning, implementation, and the management of the systems. So they mainly assist the construction manager by ensuring that the safety management systems are actually being implemented on the ground at all times. So roles and responsibilities of these CHS professionals is to ensure the safety of workers and visitors on construction sites, to develop and implement safety systems and plans, to conduct site inspections, as well as to provide training on safety procedures, to investigate accidents and injuries, to identify potential hazards, and effective communication with workers. All of this goes hand in hand with the construction manager, who is the legally responsible person for all of these aspects within a construction site. So what are some of the core competencies that we look for when we register the health and safety professionals? It is construction project specific health and safety management systems, construction health and safety management, performance management and monitoring, and continual improvement. All right, so now we've looked at the various different categories of registration. Another aspect where one can make use of during registration includes RPL. So what is RPL? RPL stands for the recognition of prior learning, and in the built environment, it requires an assessment process that appraises an individual's non-formal and informal knowledge and proficiency to determine the extent to which that individual has achieved the required learning outcomes. So we looked at the various qualifications earlier, and we've spoken about candidates. So just to recap a bit, number one, we've got our various categories that you register in. If you have the required competency, as well as the tertiary educational knowledge and the experience, then you register directly for a professional category. If you have got the relevant qualifications, although you are short on the number of years of practical experience, then, as we have mentioned, you follow the candidate route. But what if you've got the number of years of relevant experience? So then we've got applicants that's got a number of years of experience, but they unfortunately do not have the relevant qualifications. Then they follow the RPL route. And this route looks at, as stipulated here, the informal and non-formal knowledge and proficiencies. So when we look at our registering of professionals, we have to also determine, are professionals equipped with the knowledge and the skills they need to make them flexible, adaptable, and agile? I want to stress that construction projects changes on a daily basis. There isn't a construction project that starts exactly when it was indicated to start, that ends when it's supposed to start, end exactly at the same time, or with regards to everything going exactly as planned from the beginning. Our construction projects are very, very flexible, if I can call it that. Not really flexible, but they change on a daily basis. And we require our professionals to be able to respond to that disruption that gets thrown into the mix without prior warning, in order so that they can still maintain that the project runs according to the requirements in terms of quality and cost and so forth. So there's a lot that needs to be taken into consideration. So having an individual that is registered as a professional, the council looks at various aspects in order to determine this. We look at the behavior, the skills, the abilities, the knowledge, and the personal characteristics. We basically break those down into two separate spaces in terms of behavioral competence as well as technical competence. A person can't just be technical competent, because especially when it comes to project and construction management, one needs the behavioral competence just as much as the technical competence in order to run construction projects successfully. Our technical competence, including the health and safety management, financial management, quality management, project management, and the risk acumen. Whilst on the behavioral side, the applicant requires the analytical thinking, skills in problem solving, self-reliance, resilience, as well as the ability of leveraging resources. Looking into our code of conduct for our professionals, as discussed right in the beginning, the code of conduct for each registered professional, as per section 27 of the Act, is of utmost importance. Each registered person is required to, at all times, practice in such a manner that they do not contravene the code of conduct for the professions. So each one of the registered practitioners are kept in a line with the code of conduct, and should any registered person be found to have been operating outside of the code of conduct, they can be highlighted and brought to light towards the council, who will investigate the scenario and take the corrective actions if needed. So what are the objectives of the code of conduct? It is for competency. It includes the integrity, to maintain the integrity of the industry, as well as public interest, together with the development of subordinates, excellence, and importantly, to ensure public health and safety. So let's delve a little bit deeper into the actual registration process. So when an applicant decides to register with the SACPCMP, it's the starting off with an online application. Please note that council do not take any physical applications any longer, as in the past, that it is only an online application that can be followed. After submitting all the relevant documents on the system, there is an initial verification stage, where an administrator verifies whether all the correct information has been provided as per the requirements. If all the information has been provided to the right quality, then it gets sent off to assessment. Any of the professional categories are sent off to 3 separate independent assessors who will assess the application and then therefore determine whether the applicant can move on, and whether the applicant is competent enough to move on to the exam or interview stage. When we look at our exam or interview stage, so the only people that write exam is our construction health and safety officers and managers and our building inspectors, our construction project managers and our construction managers, those categories, in addition to the construction health and safety agent, they undergo an interview. a professional interview with a panel of your peers, whereby you are invited for an online interview, and you basically get assessed by the panel to determine your competencies as per the scope of services that has been gazetted by council. And if you pass the exam or the interview in the relevant category, you move on to your registration and you obtain a registration certificate. So let's have a look how to register. Number one, you visit the SACPCMP website on www.sacpcmp.org.za. And on that website, there will be 3 different portals, either for project and construction management, or for CHS, or for building inspectors. You follow those specific portals that will guide you to all the relevant information that you need. This is what the website looks like to give you an indication. So you will go under registration, and then you can select whether you want to move to construction health and safety, project, or BI. So you click after selecting the specific area. For example, this one is CHS. You click on register. Then you go through all the details. You read the code of conduct. You have to complete all your information, and then you make an application payment. And once you have made your payment, you log on to your profile and you select the specific designation that you want to register as. Please note the selection of the designation is really important. Otherwise, your profile does not move on and the administrators don't know what you are planning to register as. So you go onto your profile, and there you go onto the right hand at the bottom to apply for a designation. And you go through there and you select your designation. After that, you log in again with your project, with your profile. And then this is what you will see. You will get the abilities to update your profile, to view certificates, to view your registration details, as well as the designation that you selected as well. Just to give you an indication. Then also, in order to, on your profile, you can literally find your profile link that you can copy, as well as the SACPCMP logo that you can put as a signature. You can change your password on your profile. And what is so important with what I'm showing you in terms of the different profiles is to know your profile. Go onto your profile on a regular basis, know what's going on there, play around with it, see the different tabs. You will get your financials there, your documentation, your biographical information. Everything is right there at the tip of your fingers. Okay, so there is, if you want to get your invoices and do your payments, please make sure that when you go online and you click on the financials tabs and you've got your invoices, you can make your payments according to the various stages during your registration process. If you make your payments online, it is quicker for council to recognize those payments, and your profile actually moves along quite quicker. Also, the council logs or notifies you of new exam dates if the person that is registering, remember, as I mentioned, our safety officers, managers, and building inspectors, they will check and they will look out for exam date notices to see when the next exam takes place. Similar on the side of the interviews, we continuously conduct interviews. We don't do specific interviews on separate dates. When we get to the registration calendar, I will delve into that a bit more. Also, let's have a look at the application documents. So this is our new eligibility assessment report that needs to be completed. And I've taken it for project and construction management, where it requires the professional or the person that is applying to provide us details with all their projects for the past 5 years. All right, so if not just for some people might be registering that had experience previously to the 5 years, they can add that information as well, as long as all the projects that you put on the project profile totals up to 5 years of practical experience. All right, if you are registering as a project and construction management. So you provide the name of the project, the duration of the project is important, the type and the description of the project, what happened on the project, what was done there, what was the total value of the project, as well as what was the geographical location. And then also the client details, the name of the client and the client's representative. Council needs to have that information to contact the relevant institutions or bodies or companies to ensure that the person did complete work there. You need to provide the position, the telephone number, mobile, email, all that, as much information as possible of the client. And then also, then you list the participating organizations, if there were any that were involved in the project. And importantly, you specify your role and your position on the project, and you indicate on the actual document, you mark on which stages you were involved in the project. Remember, our project managers, they need to show us their competence from stages 1, 2, 3, all the way to 6. And in each one of those stages, they need to describe the role and according to the relevant project stages and as it relates to the project. All right, then let's have a look at the CV. When you complete your CV, please make sure that you complete it as full and as possible, including all the relevant information that you are being required for. So please make sure that you complete all the sections. As I mentioned, the council has got a reporting function through to the CBE, and the CBE needs to have all this information. So if you provide the information and your CV or your project profile is incomplete, it will be sent back to you for completion. So do it the first time, correct, including all the information, then you don't have a back and forth. You provide on the CV your personal details, your gender, your race, etc., your citizenship, and then also your educational qualifications. Make sure you provide information as possible, especially with regards to your qualifications. Short courses as well, the short courses that you completed, when, with which institution, as well as the details. Provide us with the details, especially with big degrees such as masters and doctorates, to ensure that you provide us with the relevant information of what was the main aspects or the main modules of your studies. Then, of course, career history with the work experiences and with referees. So there we want your employment history. Again, provide as much detail as possible, as well as making sure to give us the descriptions of your key performance areas that needs to link up with your project profile. Also, membership of professional voluntary associations, such as the ACPM. That is the information that you provide us here. It is of utmost importance, and the council supports that fully. And we want all our registered persons to be part of voluntary associations, so that the information that is obtained and the guidance through these organizations are invaluable. As I mentioned, the council operates working through a registration calendar. Currently, we are in Q2 of the financial year for the council. And as you can see, we've got various application windows. For these actual applications to take place, you have to apply during a specific window. As you can see, during our Q2, the window opened on the 1st of July and is closing on the 8th of August. The next window will only open again on the 1st of October, running until the 8th of November. And during that window will be the opportunity to submit a new application. So this calendar gets updated on an annual basis. And as you can see, it provides you with so many information in terms of various application open days or application workshops. What the council does is, before each and every single window, we run a couple of application workshops where we go through the entire application process with applicants, and you are able to ask the council questions. How do I do this? How do I upload that? Is this important? Am I registering in the right category? All of that information gets shared on these interactive application workshops. We've got workshops regarding candidates. We've got workshops regarding the RPL processes as well. And also on this calendar, it stipulates when exams are being done. So we run exams almost on a monthly basis, also online for our construction health and safety officers and our construction health and safety managers and building inspectors. So monthly exams. And as I mentioned, you can see here, there is nothing mentioned about interviews, because interview dates are happening every single week and new dates are being launched and opened up on a daily basis. So if you are registering as a professional construction project manager or a professional project manager or construction manager, then you look out for those dates and you book your interview. Thank you very much, Chair. That is the end of my presentation. I will take any questions.
I think we have a question in the chat box. Someone asked, do you go through interviews if you want to register for the candidate registration?
So with regards to candidates, there is no interview scheduled for candidates. You only run go through the application process. We look whether you've got the relevant qualifications. Remember, candidate, you don't have, if you are a bit short on the number of years of experience, then you've got a maximum of 7 years to obtain that relevant number of years of experience. So to answer the question, no, you don't go through an exam or an interview for candidacy. You only complete those when you are registering as a professional. Thank you.
Oh, someone.
Please note that if you want to ask a question, you can just raise your hand. I see Tlotlo's hand is up, and then just unmute yourself and ask the question direct.
Okay. Good afternoon, colleagues. Just a quick one with you, Kobus. Looking at this industry, we're not really quite picky when it comes to the kind of job that you have. So currently, I'm a general foreman on a construction site. So obviously, I'm furthering my studies at the same time. So I was wondering, would it be a big problem if, for example, that I want to, I think for me, I would rather enjoy being registered as a construction project manager instead of a construction manager. Start a project from stage 1 up until stage 6. So my question is, me being as a general foreman, am I in a good, the right career or the right position for me to just be registered as a candidate, let alone as being a professional construction manager?
Well, in terms of, through you, Chair, if I may answer.
Yes, continue.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So, yes, so it all depends in terms of, if you look at the qualifications, if you've got the relevant qualifications for a project manager, then you can register as a candidate. So as a general foreman, there's nothing wrong to progress up into project management. It just requires you to ensure that you have got the relevant qualifications. And then if you register as a candidate, what is important is for you to obtain a mentor. And the mentor is needs to be a registered practitioner with the council in either that same level. So like yourself wanting to register as a project manager, you need to get a registered project manager who will act as your mentor to assist you during your candidacy and develop you to have all the relevant skills and experience in terms of the various PMBOK knowledge areas. So that is the project management knowledge areas that needs to be complied with for a project manager. So you need to ensure with your mentor that you can do those. Then you can from there upgrade onto professional. But you can start there. There's nothing that will prevent you as long as you've got the relevant qualifications.
Okay, thank you. Just another one, just to follow up on that one. Does it necessarily have to be somebody that I work with, or can I just get a mentor from anyone from that is registered as a professional construction manager or a construction project manager?
You are allowed to use any person. If the person doesn't need to work along with you, it can be any other registered professional that is in good standing with the council.
Okay, thank you so much, Kobus.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for the question.
There's another question.
Thank you, Chair. Can I? Oh, sorry.
You can continue.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the lovely presentation. I think it was quite comprehensive. So if I may just ask a question around just the gap that I'm seeing. Are there any specific programs between the graduate level and new entrants trying to professionalize and get into industry? Other than the requirements that you've put up on the presentation, are there specific programs that assist graduates in between?
So with the way that council is now registering candidates, as soon as you are a graduate, you can actually apply for candidate registration. You are not required to have any experience within the construction sector at that stage. That is why you are registering as a candidate and encouraged to get a mentor to mentor you within that specific category. So that allows students to move into the profession immediately. Does that answer your question?
I think partly. So you speak about the candidacy and having the mentorship, but there are very specific criteria that you showed in the slide in terms of number of experience. So if a candidate is not able to get that, are there specific programs that help to bridge the gap?
Remember, the programs is only in terms of mainly focusing on qualifications and tertiary knowledge. There isn't specific programs that the council does, like in terms of placement of finals year students or anything of that nature. But there are various organizations such as the ACPM that can assist with regards to those kind of initiatives. But yeah, that's why the council is not preventing a person that has no experience from entering within the registration space, allowing a student that has completed their qualifications to get into the industry as soon as possible without having any relevant experience.
Thank you. Understood.
Thank you. Next question.
Good day, all.
Continue, Teboho.
I would like to ask a question regarding this. If I'm registered as a candidate construction project manager, however, I'm site-based as a construction manager. When I go into professional registration, is it going to be a problem going into professional construction project, being a construction project manager, since I've been involved from stage 3 going forward?
So for you to register as a professional construction project manager, it is possible. As I mentioned, it won't be an issue if through your mentor you are able to demonstrate to council that you are knowledgeable regarding all the various stages from stage 1 up until stage 6 of the life cycle stages as per the scope of services. So in order to make sure that you are ready for the interview, for example, is to make sure that you look at the scope of services and with your mentor ensure that you cover all those aspects during your candidacy, allowing you, as soon as you've satisfied yourself that you have covered all those relevant areas, then you move on and to register as a professional. And then you must be able to demonstrate to council each and every one of those 6 stages, your competency that you have attained in all of those stages as per the scope of services. Do you have, does that answer your question, Tebogo?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Is there any more hands?
I'm not sure for now. Someone's unmuted, but they're not asking.
Oh, sorry. Good afternoon. I wanted to ask. I applied for professional construction project manager, and it was rejected. But I find that the report was very vague in terms of what I did not demonstrate that they felt that it was missing. So I wanted to find out, is it possible that perhaps we can get extensive feedback in terms of getting reporting where the problem areas are or where I'm lacking, so that I will know how best I can take it to the employer to assist me to get that relevant experience. Thank you.
Yes, no, thank you very much for the question. I'm sure if my contact details will be shared with you, I will have to first go and have a look at what the assessors provided in terms of your application, and then I'll be able to indicate to you what was the shortcomings.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if you've addressed the one on the logbook, Kanya from Kanya. I just wanted to find out if it is necessary to do a logbook, or can you just submit your report when do I submit a report?
All right.
And then the next one, sorry, Kobus, the next one is from Benita. Benita says, if we register as a candidate manager, do we have to pay a fee?
Okay. So the first one with regards to the logbook, yes, if you are registered as a candidate, you are required to maintain an annual logbook that gets signed off by your registered mentor within each and every specific area that was identified for you. So you have to maintain a logbook, and the logbook you need to submit on an annual basis on your profile, which allows you to be assessed according to your logbook. And then if you have achieved the full number of years of experience that is required for that registration category, you do a final logbook that gets submitted to council, that gets assessed to determine whether you have completed all the relevant areas that is required, and then you move on to professional registration. That is in terms of the logbook. And then in terms of a candidate, yes, if you register as a candidate, there is a candidate registration fee. All the council fees are gazetted, and you will find each and every one of those fees for the exams, for the interviews, for the applications, for the assessments, and all of that. You will find on the council's website in terms of all the fee structures that is applicable. Okay.
Hi, sir.
Then, yes, thank you. Please proceed.
So I just have a quick question. How long does the registration process take? Because I did apply for the candidate construction project manager, and it seems like the application isn't moving. Is there like a time frame, a specific time frame for the whole application process, or?
So may I ask, when did you submit your candidate application?
On the 1st of July.
On the 1st of July. Yes. So the process normally takes approximately, so for candidates, it's separate to full normal registration. So for candidates, it takes approximately 2 to 3 months, taking into consideration all the various aspects of auditing and confirming that needs to take place. So about 2 to 3 months for candidates, as long as all the information is there and relevant information in the correct template and all that was provided, then the process will go much quicker. So if you have submitted by the 1st of July, you are still within the times, etc. You will be able to get feedback very shortly, actually, regarding the progress of your application.
All right, cool. So I did receive feedback. I called and then they gave me some feedback, and then my application moved to the assessor stage. So is that the part that takes the longest?
That's correct, yes. So it will go through the assessment, and then you will get a feedback regarding following the assessment of your application. And then after, if you're registering, as I mentioned, as a candidate, you will then, after, if you pass the assessment stage, then you move on to the certificate stage. You'll get your certificate as a registered candidate.
Awesome. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I see Tlotlo's, Morolo's hand is up.
Yes, it's me again, sir. So I just wanted to ask, just going through your website, there's no clear indication of advanced diploma and postgrad diploma being recognized. So is that going to be a bit of a change in terms of what is required for you to be registered to be a candidate or as a professional?
So what you will do is, if you have a qualification that is not on the current list that's on the website, you can inquire from council to determine whether it will be an acceptable qualification. So you can do that upfront, just to get into contact with us, provide us with your qualification details, and then just request whether the council will recognize that qualification for the specific registration category. And then we will provide you with feedback if it, because the council will look into the qualification and look if there's any shortcomings in terms of the different modules and what we are looking for from each qualification, and then provide you with feedback in terms of if it is recognized and that you can proceed with it, or if there's any gaps within what you need to do on that, in that side as well.
Okay, just on that one as well. Looking at now, BTEC has been phased out. So obviously there's now advanced diploma and postgrad diploma through your traditional technical schools, university. So my question is, because I tried to call, but to get more information in regards to that, but I was on the line for almost 30 minutes. So that's why I was wondering through you that has it been recognized, or is it something that you were waiting for feedback from higher education or from all these institutions?
So I need to actually see your qualifications, etc., to be able to give you a full answer, etc. But we are looking at all built environment qualifications. I can tell you that. Even like the previous ones that got that is not being recognized anymore, etc. We've got our education department that has put measures in place to assist applicants through all those processes, looking into the specific qualifications. So So yeah, it's difficult to give you a direct answer on that one.
Can I just add, Kobus? Can I just add to Tlotlo?
Yes.
Just to add, please remember in terms of what Kobus is saying, the council also accredits institutions of higher learning. So you will find, and that period is about 5 years. So you'll find that the council has done the accreditation with the previous other qualifications. That is now before the recurriculation. That is now the phased out approach of your BTECs, which I think it was up until last year, if I'm not mistaken. Now, with the new qualifications, the ones that you are referring to, Council has in their revised policy looked at the NQF level. So depending, as Kobus is saying, what NQF level it is, that will be obviously looked into upon assessment phase. But also remember now, if Council has not yet included it now in their registration policy, they still also need to find the first cohort or second cohort, for the specific new qualifications. So some of them have been endorsed and recognized because they are within the built environment, but obviously the accreditation process requires otherwise. So that is why it will then depend what it is, as Kobus is saying. So upon assessment, then the council looks at that, on a case-by-case basis.
Correct.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
For the clarity.
I see there's a question as well from Percy. Percy, I'm not sure because your question is actually also similar to the one of Mabasa, if I'm not mistaken, where you were asking about, your application is stuck, you are still waiting. So what we will do is that we've noted these comments, we will send them to Kobus, via email as well, so that by the time you send the email, as we'll be sharing his email details, by the time you send the email, he can have a recollection of the question, during the session. So I think, Percy, yours will be the same as Mabasa, where you are asking about your specific application. There's somebody that wanted to talk before I spoke. You are welcome to ask your question. Any more questions, colleagues? Can we go and let us also then check on social media?
There are no questions on social media, ma'am.
Okay. And we have shared the links that Kobus referred to in the chat. So in terms of registration, you are welcome to then just copy those pages if there's any specific things that you wish to be.
Oh, sorry, there's one question I got personally, someone who's watching on social media.
Okay, you can
to ask. Okay, they'd like to ask if they have a qualification in quantity surveying and they want to get registered as a professional construction project manager before registering with the SACPCMP, the South African Council of the Quantity Surveyors. Is there a way to go directly to becoming a professional construction project manager without necessarily registering with the Quantity Surveying Council?
Yes, so with regards to that question, it is not a requirement to register with any other council before you can register directly with the SACPCMP. If you've got the relevant qualifications within the built environment, you can register directly with the council, and you are not required to register through another council first. So if you want to register as a project manager, you can proceed. With regards to your specific qualification, we will assess your qualification during your application and provide you with, as I mentioned, if there's any shortcomings, if it's not specifically within construction management, then if there's any shortcomings, we will advise you. Otherwise, if there's no shortcomings, you will move on and be able to proceed with your registration.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'd actually like to ask a question regarding the candidacy registration. So after you've registered to be a candidate's construction manager, do you get assigned a mentor from the SACPCMP, or do you have to look for the mentor yourself?
So what council does is, council does not assign any mentors, but council does have various ways whereby we try to get mentors and applicants together through functions such as mentor speed dates and so forth. So we prefer that the applicant try and get someone that they know or that they work closely to, etc., that will assist them through that mentorship process. So and also to get their mentors. So, but unless if they cannot find a mentor, then there is avenues where council can assist and try to get a mentor. Council also, in order to drive this, the mentorship, council requires each and every registered professional to, on an annual basis, to conduct mentoring. So as part of your CPD requirements, thereby encouraging the industry to take up mentorship more seriously, and also to assist our candidates to get to full registration status through mentorship. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I see there's a question from Melusa Mutandi. It says, how do we find mentors? I am switching my career from architectural technology to construction project management. Currently studying for a postgrad diploma at WITS. Also, does council or ACPM assist with graduate internship programs?
So from council side, council does not have any internship programs. Council basically, our mandate is to register professionals. And as the question with regards to how to find mentors, as I mentioned, it's either the person obtains or tries to find a mentor themselves, someone that they work close to, or someone that they can have regular contact with. And if you have difficulties finding a mentor, council can assist in ways and means to try and get you a mentor as well. But when it comes to the internship programs, council does not have internship programs.
Okay, let me just add from the side of the ACPM. I think, Kobus, this question is also related, to the person that asked about when you are QS, can you register with council? Maybe
Yes.
also just to add on the context to say, if you are an architect or quantity surveyor or engineer, the moment you go into construction project management, you then have to register with council. So the SACPCMP is the only statutory council with dual registration, meaning you can be registered with a QSS, but because you're doing project management as defined in terms of the scope of services, as Kobus has shared, then you have to be registered with the council. Now, that very same rule goes down to us as the voluntary association, which is the ACPM. So, for example, when you look at our membership category, if construction project management is not your core, in terms of the question that you are asking, Melissa, to say what are the possibilities of a switch, from the side of the voluntary association, we can only approve you as an affiliate if construction project management is not your core. But the moment you go into, we come to our associate membership and to our full membership, because there are also other voluntary associations, including other councils that look at the specific disciplines. So specifically with us as the ACPM, for you to be an associate, you have to be registered with council as a candidate. However, if you have the extensive experience in construction project management, you can still register with the ACPM as an associate before you can even register with council as a candidate. Now, it gives you an advantage, meaning, as you've seen in the one slide that Kobus has shown, by the time you register with council and they look at your assessment, by virtue of you being a member of the VA, they give you already a number of points as part of that recognition. But it is not a prerequisite, but it is advisable. So that is the associate category. But with a full member, is strictly you have to be a professional construction manager or professional construction project manager in order for the ACPM to recognize you as a full member. That now is strictly you have to first be registered with the SACPCMP when it comes to construction management. Now, going to your specific questions, from the ACPM, we have a graduate program which SPO is part of, where we say if you've graduated and you are still studying, like a SPO, he's doing his honors, but he's graduated from a degree point of level, we have that graduate membership, and that graduate membership is really the gap or the transition between you after graduating and then registering as council. But you've also heard that there is a transition in terms of registration from the council, where initially there was a requirement of post-qualification relevant experience, but Kobus is now indicating to say that, that can now be done strictly, but obviously it also depends on your exit level. So we do have a graduate program. However, it's strictly for construction studies students, the ones that have made a choice that they are doing construction project management. So you can't be construction studies and you have still not decided whether you want to go project management or whether you want to go quantity surveying. So it's strictly for the construction project management students, because that is what our association does. We cannot now want to say come into our graduate program when your qualification is architectural or quantity surveying. So I hope that answers the question. So for example, even now what's Paul in terms of his 240 hours that are required for the honors degree, he is doing his internship with one of our corporate members as the ACPM, and at the same time as well now doing work with the ACPM itself, to increase on that information. And she answers quickly and say, I'm actually doing construction project management NGF level 8. Okay, that's fine then. Send an email to SPO coordinator@acpm.co.za, and then we'll take it from there. And please also note that the number of corporate members that we have will never, ever be able to take in all of the students. If you look at the number of people that have graduated, the ones that are unemployed, it will not be possible for all of them to be absorbed by the corporate members of the ACPM. However, I think Tlotlo raised a question, inputs earlier on to say where he is now working. So don't only look at the corporates of the ACPM, also look outside of that. But I can assure you from our side, where possible from the our corporate members as well, we do take in students, including working with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Thank you.
I have one last question in terms of the years required before you can register as a professional construction manager. So I saw for the first category, which is if you have your honors in construction management, you are required to do 4 years post-qualification. And my question is, in terms of the strictness, let's say you work for a company and in the 4 years, you've had 4 projects that run 10 months. So maybe this year from February to maybe October, November, and next year the same thing for the 4 consecutive years. Would that qualify as the 4 years, or does the total duration of all the projects have to combine to 4 years?
That is correct, yes. The total duration combined. So you might have worked on 4 projects or 1 project for 4 years or 20 projects equaling the experience required for 4 years. That is what we are looking at. So the practical number of years of experience needs to be that 4 years.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, colleagues. In relation to the presentation, we've had some questions. Can I encourage you maybe for you to indicate to us what are your current challenges? It might not necessarily be something that has been raised in the presentation, because maybe if we ask the questions that way, then we are able to give you the advice to say, you know, these are the possible avenues that you could consider. So if you can just indicate whether by writing or by just unmuting yourself and asking the question, which is what I'm encouraging, because it's then easier for you to fully explain. What are the current challenges, or what are the fears, or what are the perceptions that you have regarding professional registration? So can you talk to us? Here is an opportunity. You are sitting with there's a question. You may unmute yourself. Patutedzo. Yo, sorry for butchering your name.
No, it's fine. I just have a question, or rather, it's something that I struggle to, or rather, how I interpreted my application when it was rejected. It was in the lines that something that has to do with the designs. So my question that I have is that I work for a purely construction company. We don't initiate projects, we don't do designs, but rather we get designs and we do construction. So does that mean that I'll never be considered for this registration, because I'm not entirely involved in design phases, or rather initiation? That is the first one. The second one is, before I worked for, I'll give an example, for ESCOM, and they have designers and they have processes in place. As a project manager, you don't sit in and have an influence on how the design should be, but rather you send the requirements to an engineer, and an engineer's role is to make sure that they do the full design. They are QSs that make sure that the contract is in place. I make sure I manage the contract up until the project ends. So those are not entirely, I'm not fully involved to that extent. So does that also mean that I won't be considered for a professional registration, because I'm not involved in the budgeting, I'm not involved in the design, but purely I drive the processes to make sure that construction is done and is concluded? Thank you.
So if I may answer there, Chair?
Yes, continue.
All right. So with regards to that, it's not to say that you won't ever be able to register within that specific category. If you want to register as a project manager, and as you mentioned, you don't have direct experience with the design and so forth, then that is where the importance of a registered mentor comes in, whereby the mentor can assist you, and you can talk to your organization as well to give you more exposure in those various aspects, because you will need to demonstrate competence within each one of those knowledgeable areas in order for you to be able to register as a project manager. If your scope of work and the work that you are performing fits more in line with a construction manager, then that would be your preferred registration category. But if you want to register as a professional project manager, and you only have a couple of gaps that has been identified, then speak to your mentor, see how you can fill those gaps, so that when you do your application, you can. Because remember, when you do your interview, you will be asked specifically, how did you react during the design phase? What was your interaction with the designing team? And so forth. You would need to demonstrate your input and your knowledge and the experience that you've got within that specific stage, working with the designers, working with the QSs, working with the engineers, and so forth. Being a project manager, you need to manage that project throughout all the 6 life cycle stages, whereby you would need to prove your competence in each one of them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And I think also, just to add, please familiarize yourself as well with the scope of work for the construction manager, because as Kobus is indicating, your construction project managers will be working stages 1 to 6, but the construction manager is the one from the definition as well, you know, working from your stages 4. So please just go and check the scope of services. Then you will be able to check which one you are aligned most to. Correct. Because it might be that you are looking at the wrong category. Now it seems as if you're referring mostly to the construction project manager, but go and also look at the scope of services of the construction manager. But should it be that, you know, as Kobus has indicated, it means you can work into the gaps, check the knowledge areas as well that are required. And then from there, you'll be able to make a determination.
And Chair, if I can add, I'm also in conversation with all the large bodies such as Eskom and Transnet and so forth, whereby they are aware of this, and I know they've got their various departments, and they are aware of the requirements, and they know to provide the experience to the project managers in all 6 stages of the construction project.
And you are not alone, because, you know, it's also how the organizations are structured. We have the same challenge, for example, with candidates that are at the Department of Public Works, because as you are saying, you do have the different divisions that do part of what would have been the expected knowledge area from your side. So in the past, how we tried to go about it was that together with the ACPM corporates, the Department of Public Works was seconding their registered candidates, who are their employees, to the corporates of the ACPM, including other companies, you know, outside of the ACPM. For example, if it's QS and if it's engineering, I would assume that those would also be companies that are registered with other VAs. They then get seconded for a period of 2 years, 3 years, depending on what the assessment outcome was from the SACPCMP. But the problem now is that if they are seconded, they are technically working for that company for those years. And still now, then there's a problem, you know, a challenge when it comes to the department on work that needs to be executed from the department. So it's a program that was done for about 5-6 years. But for now, the departments, including even your structures like your Independent Development Trust, they are unable to second, you know, the candidates to go and sit there. So how the different functions, or especially government, how it's structured, it also then adds to the challenge experienced, you know, as you are indicating. But as Kobus is saying, then if council is addressing that, you know, with these employer bodies on how to help the candidates, then it is a step in the right direction. I am seeing, Kobus, there's another question here from Benita Munyanga. Can the years of work experience that count be done in another country?
So the answer to that is yes. If you have done project management, whether it's in South Africa or another country, you need to just show your relevant years of experience. It doesn't need to be the relevant experience in South Africa. Just make sure that if it's in line with project management or construction management, that you provide the details and the specifics of what was your role within those projects, and how it basically supports the providing of your proof of competence in that specific area. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. And then the next one is from Pilile. He says, which email can I use to find out if the qualification qualifies me to register for the candidate registration? I have a 3-year degree in project management through Menkosa. I've sent emails, but no response.
Yes, what we will do is, Chairs, as we've mentioned, we will share the contact information so that we'll be able to get into contact with the relevant applicants, such as I think it's Mr. Buthelezi.
Pilile, yes.
Lele Buthelezi. So yes, so that they can get hold of us so that we can get them those answers. Thank you, Chair.
And what I would also then advise to Upilile, please also make use of the various websites. If this is a council you want to register with, make use of the, of the website so that you can look into that. Because remember as well, council will also look at qualifications that they have accredited, or should I say institutions of higher learning, including consideration to the new qualifications that are still, the new ones that are being faced in. I'm definitely sure that there is an arrangement. So in terms of Menkosa, I specifically, I'm not that sure, but as Kobus is indicating, please send the email so that they can then engage with you directly, because we cannot just look at the qualification. We are not sure of your current, what is this now, experience, and also where you are currently working. So that will be a case on its own merit. But also do familiarize yourself with the accredited qualifications. Do we have any further questions? I haven't heard of any challenge, so maybe we are sitting within voluntary associations and statutory bodies assuming there's challenges, but it seems as if there isn't, Kobus.
Looks good.
So because now I was interested, to understand, to say, what do you think are the things that inhibit you from registration? What is it that you are seeing as a challenge, even if you have not yet attempted the registration? But it seems as if there isn't really much. Colleagues, before we close, I will give Kobus time for, okay, the challenge is getting a mentor. When I look at the statistics of council, we have over half registered professionals, 2 candidates. If I can just remember, the old ones before COVID, we were sitting at plus minus, I'm talking construction management and construction project management. We were sitting at plus minus 2,800 with how many candidates? With plus minus 5,400 candidates. So when you look at it, it's actually the half, meaning one mentor can take 2 people. So when you say challenge is getting a mentor, is it getting a mentor, or not knowing how to approach a mentor, or not knowing where to look for a mentor?
It's not knowing where to look. It's not knowing where to look for a mentor. Because I've heard you apply to get a mentor, but I've not gotten a mentor. I do have a professionally registered person, but has not applied as a mentor, but he's a professional construction project manager. So he was only assisting me here and there to submit the first report that was rejected. But now I'm just a bit skeptical to submit the second one, because I'm not sure exactly where I did wrong and how to go about rectifying that, so that I don't just send an application only for it to be rejected again. But I have desires to submit an application for a professional construction project manager, as it's a mandatory requirement at work.
You need to understand that the categories that Kobus was referring to, the professional construction mentor and the construction mentor, it doesn't mean when you are a candidate, you have to be mentored by those 2 categories. It is said that your mentor must be a person that is registered in the category that you have applied for. So if you have applied, or if you are a candidate construction manager, you need to be mentored by a professional construction manager. If you are a candidate construction project manager, you need to be mentored by a professional construction project manager. So your mentor needs to be the person registered in the category of your application, and not necessarily construction mentor or professional mentor. So I think maybe that is why Kobus also went through the definition. So that as long as the person is registered, so for example, you cannot have your mentor as an engineer and expect or quantity surveyor wise you've registered for construction management. And Kobus also indicated to say that your mentor doesn't have to be somebody in your workplace. It can be somebody outside of your workplace. So as long as it is in the category that you have applied for, that is what the Act requires. But it does not apply to, from what I've picked up what you said, it doesn't mean that the person has to be registered as a professional construction mentor or as a construction mentor. I don't know, Kobus, if you can add on that.
That is 100% correct. Thank you, Prof. So it's exactly that. The requirement is purely that the person, the mentor, must be a registered person in that category or higher, but in good standing with council. So that is the only requirement. The construction mentor category that we looked at earlier, that is a mentor for construction companies. So that is a company mentor that helps companies to perform construction projects more strategic and to identify gaps for companies. The mentors that we are referring to for candidates or for applicants, that is registered professionals only. So they don't need to be registered as a mentor. They just need to be a registered professional. And in further guidance in terms of your application, the scope of services for each category is published. So with your application, please make sure that within your application, you identify competence within all of the areas covered as per the scope of services in your application, because that is what you are being assessed against. You are being assessed against the competence of the scope of services that is provided, and that is available also on our website for each category. Thank you, Chair.
Let me just say, I think now from the questions that have been raised, hence I'm saying indicate what the challenges are, because then it tells us what to look for in other sessions. So together with the SACPCMP, we will engage and see if we can just have a session on the mentorship relationship, mentor-mentee, what are the expectations, what are the documentations that need to be signed. So maybe if you have that understanding, it makes it easy. But from the side of the ACPM, what we've done, we've got a category which is complementary. For the people that have retired, they were registered persons, but now they have retired, they are no longer practicing, but their membership is active with the SACPCMP. So those are the people that we put up as mentor that then help mentor our associate members. And remember, I said our associate members are actually candidates. So you find people that are no longer practicing, but at least they are able to mentor. There are also companies that I know, that have registered mentors with various councils that look at structured mentorship programs that get funding from like your SITAs, be it the construction SITA, be it the LG SITA, where they then do the mentoring. So there are also some of those programs, but mostly those have been done in workplaces. Public Works has run such, the municipality has run such a program, a structured candidature program for their candidates, funded by the LG SITA together with the SACPCMP. So those are part of the structured ones, but from the ACPM with us, it will be the retired, or let me say no longer practicing, but are still in good standing that are offering mentorship. So I think what you need to also do, look also within your own organization, because then Kobus, maybe if we run that session, then we need to be able to come with that encouragement, even for the mentors, because as part of their CPD, mentorship is something that is being recognized for them to get CPD points. So we might have to run such a session. Maybe we will also be able to attract more mentors, if we unpack it. So thanks for that. Hence, I'm saying indicate what the challenges are. You could be giving us, an indication to say what is your need so that we can have relevant sessions that talk to your needs. So we will look into one of mentorship. And then there's another question, Kobus. It says finding a mentor You mentioned that the council hosts mentor, meet and greet sessions. When is council hosting such events?
So what council does is that we host these not on specific dates. So depending on the need and the requirements. So council normally works alongside with our VAs, such as the ACPM, with regards to this as well. And what we then do is, as soon as we are hosting such an event, we will communicate that on our website as well as social media, on all the various platforms, as well as our Shapeshifter and so forth. So we will be communicating those as and when they take place, but you don't need to wait for such an event. If you are struggling to find a mentor, you can get into contact with council and we can assist you beforehand. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Spo, over to you. Is there anything on social media?
Nothing so far, but I have one last question with regards to my yes. So
that's why I'm helping you to chair today. I know that you've got vested interest in the subject.
Yeah, so with regards to my situation, I've completed my undergraduate degree in construction management, which that alone would qualify me to the 5-year category before registering for the professional construction management. So I'm asking, once I've completed my honors degree that I'm currently enrolled in, would it mean the hours I'm doing this year don't count in any way? So I know I can't add them to the 4 years after you've gained your honors degree, but would it still count if I add it in terms of that I've done my undergraduate and then continue after my honors and add those to 5 years? How would that work?
So you will see that as per the requirement of the 5 years. So as soon as you've achieved those 5 years, so it depends on the relevant experience. If you've built up the total number of 5 years of experience post your qualification. So if you've done your undergrad and after your undergrad you have in total put together your 5 years worth of relevant experience within construction management, then you will be able to register. It won't mean that the year was lost. So it all depends on when you finish your qualification and then that you have equated the total number of relevant practical experience within that registration category.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So it means, can I just ask Kobus as a follow-up table who have noted you? So it means the 240 hours that is doing now as part of the honors qualification that is required because he already has an undergrad. Will he be able to count this experience because he's doing it in a project and construction management consulting firm, which is one of our corporate? So these 240 hours, which is technically a year, it will count, meaning he needs another 4 years to make up for the 5 years.
Correct, yes. So, and also because it also depends on situation per situation. We look at each case because it depends on what was your exposure during this 240 hours. What was the exposure? What was so all that gets taken into consideration to check whether all the gaps have been identified and not necessarily gaps, but whether all the boxes have been ticked with regards to what qualifications or the years of experience in the specific areas. Because as I mentioned, the scope of service is very specific in terms of the PMBOK areas that is needed to be shown in terms of competence. So it links up with that. So each case gets evaluated to ensure that what is the final outcome from council in that regard. Okay. So we'll have to see what was the experience that was built up during that time to be able to give an indication.
Yeah, Bovo?
So if I'm studying towards my honors, and I'm already in the industry, working in the industry. The professional registration will count from my postgrad. From after doing my postgrad is going to be 4 years after that. So the 1 year counts. The 1 year while doing my honors counts as 1 year. Or the 4 years is going to be from after my honors, 4 years from there.
Again, having a look at your specific situation will determine what is the exposure that you were receiving during that 1 year. So what the current qualification structure that is in place states that you would need a minimum number of years experience post-graduation. So you need to graduate first and then thereafter the number of years of qualification. That is according to the current experience. So it's post-grad. Does that answer your question, Teboho?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? We will do any further questions for just now for the next 2 to 3 minutes, and then we will start going towards closure. Teboho, is that the old hand or is your hand up again? Okay, the hand is down. Spo, over to you. Maybe also indicating our session for next week. Before we go to Spo, Kobus, do you have any closing remarks from your side?
Yes, thank you very much, Prof, for the opportunity, and thank you very much to ACPM for hosting the session and for inviting the SACPCMP to be part of it. We really want to thank you for giving us this opportunity, and also a special thanks for making a big impact within the industry itself. You guys are doing stellar work, and we love working closely along with you and all your members to ensure that we improve the industry, and we're working towards a brighter future for all of us. And we want to thank you again, and thank you for all the good questions and all the participants that that joined the session as well. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Kobus. Spo, over to you.
Thank you to everyone who joined the session today. Thank you to you, Kobus, for the presentation, the interaction, everything. I'd like to say to everyone, please subscribe to the ACPM's YouTube channel, like the videos, share. If there's anyone who you know who missed out on this session, share the link with them so they can catch up and know what was discussed. Follow us on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and we'll see you next week for the last online student bootcamp, which will be on the 31st of July, same time, and it will be dealing with the topic of essential skills for project and construction management. The things that will be discussed are the key competencies required in the industry, as well as building a skill set that aligns with the industry demands. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Spo. And then with that said, thank you to everyone for attendance. Thanks, Kobus.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Kobus, just remain behind. We just want to, just quickly review.